We've spent probably the last 2 weeks meeting across the state with Native Hawaiians about the proposal that the state has made to OHA for the payment of past due amounts from the use of ceded lands, and it's a total of $200 million. It's a bill that was owed from the period of 1978 to the current time. There's a big difference, obviously, with these parcels. There are 10 parcels of land that are being offered by the state in Kaka'ako Makai. Unlike Waikeleopuna, that was essentially conservation land, this property is really commercial development property. It will provide an economic engine for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. You know, right now we're dependent on Wall Street and how well our portfolio does. We're dependent on the state of Hawaii in terms of the payments off of ceded lands. This will provide OHA with a chance to generate revenue on its own that hopefully will enhance the income that we currently get from the state and from our investments. So it is, and it's not a project that will see results in 2 years or even 5 years. It's a project that will take a little bit longer, but it's a great opportunity for Native Hawaiians. Any income that is made off of revenues from the public land trust and the property will actually be part of the public land trust. So all income generated off of those properties will have to benefit our beneficiaries. So right now those 10 properties earn maybe $1 million a year. And that's really not very much when you really think about it. But it really has the potential for raising millions and millions of dollars a year that will help to go directly to OHA's beneficiaries. And when you look at Kaka'ako Makai, this is where Kamehameha Schools will be developing 3,000 condominium units. The Howard Hughes Corporation will be developing 4,000 residential units. So for OHA to develop on the ocean side of Ala Moana Boulevard is a tremendous opportunity, because what we've learned over the last several years is that OHA really does embrace the environmental issues, the cultural issues, probably more than anyone else. So I think the community will be well served by having OHA as the group that will develop this property. I am assuming the job as Executive Director for the Native Hawaiian Royal Commission, because I really think that the creation of a Native Hawaiian government is really the future for Native Hawaiians. The level of self-determination is going to be enhanced significantly with the creation of an enrollment process, the creation of a Native Hawaiian governing entity. And I think that's the future, that at some point, whether or not we get federal recognition, having a Native Hawaiian governing entity exist here in Hawaii that at least is recognized by the state government is a very positive step in the right direction. There's nothing that would prevent the state from entering into negotiations with the Native Hawaiian government on state assets. So I think that there's a very good chance, you know, if we have an administration that's favorable to those kinds of negotiations, we could actually see transfer of lands, for example, that Hawaiians believe that we have a right to the Crown lands, that is still part of our legacy. And you know, it's going to mean that we need to have a unified group, an entity that will help to negotiate on behalf of us with the state government. I think that's the future. And OHA will be a transitional entity, I think. And it's either that, or in the next 10 years we'll have successful lawsuits that will simply put Hawaiians out of business. So I don't think the choices are, you know, I don't mean to be dramatic about it, but I think that is the reality. That the reality is that there are shifting demographics in the state. People are not as sympathetic, they're not as compassionate about the host culture and its contributions to what we know as Hawaii now. So as that shifts and changes, it's going to be more and more difficult for Hawaiians to say we're different and we should be celebrated for our differences. That's not going to happen. So that's why I say 10 years is a critical time frame for Hawaiians. I think we either got to get on with it or it's going to be difficult.